Learn from our guest today. We are going to be covering how to create safe and inclusive spaces in online communities. Such an important topic. As community builders, we are responsible for the culture of the communities that we build. And this is a topic that's really important to be able to put the things that we care about into action, turning empathy into action in our communities. And today I'm really excited to have Serena Gasparini joining us to help train us up in this topic. Serena is a mom, award winner, speaker, and the mastermind behind Sense and Forum, a kick-butt marketing agency specializing in community strategy. I really appreciate this determined entrepreneur, infectious positive attitude, and always making things happening and inspiring those around her to do the same. That might as well be one of the largest cross-sectional overlaps with the community builders on Heartbeat that I have ever heard. Really excited about that. Serena is recognized with the Digital Women Awards 2023 for Digital Community Leader. And you were a finalist for the Hustle Awards in 2022 for Inspirational Women of the Industry. So you've been stacking up accolades. You've been a speaker at the Community Everywhere Summit. You are hailing from Adelaide, Australia. And you're a forward-thinking professional with passion for crafting thought-provoking, community-led growth strategies. Serena, thank you. Thank you so much for bringing your expertise and your background and your credibility and your authority to this session. Thank you. Can you tell the group what can we expect from you today? What's the one kind of headline we want to make sure people know what they're tuning in for?
Yeah, good question. So it's basically by the end of this, you're going to have a playbook on how to make your communities safe and inclusive, and go away and be able to implement some quick tools straight away rather than having to implement maybe weeks or months of strategy.
Wonderful, wonderful. I hope you guys are all as excited as I am. This is something that I think many of us really want to get right, and so we're really excited to just know some really great ways to implement that. We're showing up here to learn. So as always, guys, general house rules for the chat. We have live stream chat if you're in the studio audience or if you're tuning in on LinkedIn Live or on YouTube. All those chats will come in. As you've seen, I've been able to get some of these chats up on the screen. If you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. We've got checkpoints, so I'm going to group them up and we're going to answer them as we go through. If we run out of time, we'll cluster some at the end and we'll be able to carry the conversation forward into the Hearth, which is the Heartbeat customer community. Free to join, of course, and you can continue the conversation there. The session will be recorded out on YouTube as the best place to watch it. And if you do want to bring a voice or bring your face to a question, you can request to come on stage and we can do that as well. No requirement to do that. Just want to let you know it's available. Awesome. So let's keep the chat. Remember, everybody here is here to learn. So let's keep it civil. Let's keep it welcoming. What might be obvious to one is maybe new to someone else. And honestly, everybody was new at something at some point anyway. So let's engage right away with one another and let's kick this off. So Serena, please feel free to walk us through the lesson. I'm really excited.
I'll start sharing my screen. Okay. So you've given us a pretty lovely warm welcome and done a bit of my job for me, which was like setting the tone and creating a safe space. So I'm really glad you did that. And I might just give a few more words just to kind of back onto what you've said. But just firstly, I'm really excited to be here talking about something I'm really passionate about and I love. I've been doing this work now for 6+ years, and I've worked with multiple communities, mostly in femtech and female-founded spaces. But yeah, the safe and inclusive space part, just to kick off the event that we're here for today. I want everyone to know that they can participate in any way that feels comfortable for you. Cameras off, obviously, we're doing this live, and listen and comment when you feel like you want to. There's no pressure. This is a safe space for everyone, and just feel comfortable showing up exactly as you are. So let's get started. Here's what I know. As individuals, we long for a sense of belonging. So that's the theme of this chat, is a sense of belonging. It's fundamental as a human being, and I believe that's exactly why we're all here today, to learn how we can create that sense of belonging in your communities. But here's the reality. Not all communities provide this sense, but they don't. Some fail to provide a seat at the table for everyone, leaving people feeling excluded, unheard, exhausted, and vulnerable. explore this a little bit more and unravel how we can do this in our communities. But before we do, I just wanted to explain a little bit of like why I'm here and why this work does matter to me so much. You've already given me a very good intro, so you know that I'm a toddler mum, founder of Sense of Forum, and yes, I am from Adelaide, Australia, but I'm currently living in Cyprus, in the Mediterranean, so it's 8 p.m. here for me. So it's nice to be connecting with a global audience and knowing that other people around the world are tuning in. I recently launched Delia, a safe space for community builders to, you guessed it, build their own safe communities. It is for women founders, femtech brands, to get the tools and tips around building these safe and inclusive spaces and providing safe spaces that social media can't provide for women's brands, women positive brands. The real reason why I do this work is because there's a lot of connection here for me personally. I have navigated through several areas of mental ill health. I suffer from chronic illness, and I was diagnosed with dyslexia when I was a child. And all through these moments, I felt like there was a struggle to belong in certain spaces, the corporate world, at school, you name it. And this kind of led my career to community management, where I'm building these safe spaces so we can find our own seat at the table and we can feel that we do belong. I want the communities that I'm building for people to feel safe in them too. So when brands talk about community, it's normally about growth, engagement, and content, which is important, but none of it really matters if we don't have that sense of belonging. When one person, brand, community does the work in this space, they teach 2 more people, a group of people, or a community of people. So those people start to teach others, and suddenly we have a more conscious minds building communities for the greater good. Now, I know we're adding another layer onto your community building, and you're thinking about safe, diverse, inclusive, and accessible. And that might sound overwhelming, but most things that challenge the norms are, and I think we have to put the work in to make these shifts for our communities and for everyone to have these safe spaces. So what we're going to cover here today is a sense of belonging, how to build that in your community, practical steps for creating these safe spaces, and the 4 pillars of inclusive communities. So I just want to put this out there first. This is for you if you believe community is about belonging, not just engagement metrics. You want to create spaces where people feel seen and heard and safe and show up as their whole selves. You're open to reflecting on your own biases and learning from the experiences of others. You understand that inclusion isn't a trend, it's a practice, and you're ready to do the work even when it's uncomfortable, because you care about building better spaces for everyone. This isn't for you if you think diversity and inclusion are just nice to haves or an add-on. You'd rather stay comfortable than question systems you benefit from. You believe treating everyone the same is enough. You expect to walk away with quick fixes rather than long-term change. And you see community as a number, not as people. So if you're feeling the latter, maybe you want to leave the workshop now. But if not, let's stick around and do this quick exercise. So I'm calling this the hot seat. I'm calling this the hot seat because a lot of people feel this when they enter a space that's unfamiliar or uncomfortable, anxious even, maybe even a little bit sweaty or sweaty palms, which I'm feeling a bit now. Can you relate? Give me the thumbs up if you felt this before. How are we going in the chat?
We've got some reactions.
Yeah,
and if you guys want to pop that in the chat, you can do it there too.
Perfect.
Well, we've got some thumbs up coming in.
Great. I'm glad there's people here that are feeling this. Okay, close your eyes or not. I don't mind. I can't see you, so do what you wish. I want you to imagine that you're walking into a room, an event space, full of people you've never met. You feel nervous and out of place. Take a moment to reflect on what triggered that feeling. Consider what could have made you feel more comfortable before entering the room. Think about the actions of others that they could have taken to help you feel like you belonged. So I'm going to take a minute to reflect on those questions. If you want, you can start dropping your thoughts in the comments. What did you need, or how did you feel at this time? We got any?
I'll pull up the chat. It
reflection?
does have a little lag. We'll give folks a chance to put in some thoughts. You know, it's interesting. This might even be as simple of a story as, oh, wait, hold on. We got one from Mariana. Let me put this up on screen for you. Triggered by a large audience expecting something great and the feeling of failing to deliver that. Yes, expectation pressure. You know, Marianne, I've actually felt something very similar to that, you know, several times in my career. It's usually when you're in, depending on whether you're trying to reach into new spaces that you haven't been in before, whether that be elevation professionally or whether that be new cultures or new spaces that you haven't entered before. So I can relate to that one.
Amazing. Okay, so I think we've had a lot of time to think. If you want to keep putting things in the chat, then that's great. But I just wanted to reflect on this as seeing people, as I have seen people come into communities and then quickly exit. So this is what happens when people join a community and immediately ask to introduce themselves. We're asking them to walk into the hot seat, reveal themselves without warmth or encouragement. So how do we make people feel safe and like they've entered a space full of their biggest fans? Let's walk through this now together.
We've had a few other comments come back in about other scenarios of the same challenge here.
Amazing. Walk into a room full of strangers from judgment. Yeah, it's hard. And it makes you feel like you don't belong. It doesn't make you feel safe. So, you know, you need that warm up. You need that encouragement. You need that to know that you can trust the space that you're in. And when we're talking about the different types of people that are experiencing this, and I would say, you know, it's probably 90% of people, we are talking about neurodivergent people, people with disabilities or chronic illnesses, so whether they're visible or invisible, people who experience mental ill health, anxiety, depression, PTSD, or other mental health conditions. Then we have the LGBTQIA2S+ community members, so we're making sure that they feel safe when they're joining and have spaces to talk in, separate from maybe the common areas. People who come from different cultural, ethnic, or racial backgrounds and socioeconomic backgrounds. So not everyone has the same privilege or access to resources. So we have to remember that when we're building online communities. Are you paying a membership fee? Are people paying a membership fee? And is that information that you're providing them really crucial to some people to help them get out of certain situations? And if they're experiencing financial difficulties, how are they supposed to, you know, get past that? So just considering these different types of things. Also, people with caregiving responsibilities. I've seen examples of people hosting events, right, when mums need to do bedtime, and that's an event for women. It doesn't make any sense. And then there's other communities that I've run before for children and families. You know, we have, when we're setting up these spaces, we need to make sure that we're safeguarding the children and making sure we're putting in protocols to be like, okay, this is like screen time. This is, you know, also related to social media. Like, how are we applying these also to the communities that we run? So these aren't just check boxes. These are people in your community right now. And you could probably find, you know, if you jumped into community now, like a lot of people that would link to identifying as with something or identifying as these people. So let's talk about how we can actually make everybody feel safe in these spaces and what we mean by breaking it down into the four areas. So what we mean when we say safe is like prioritizing the community's well-being and safety. When we say diverse, we're embracing and supporting all backgrounds and identities. When we say inclusive, we're ensuring there's equal access for everybody. And when we're saying accessible, we're making accommodations for community members' needs. Okay, so this bit here, I want to be clear about. So I think it's important to don't try to be something that you're not. Be honest about your community. If your community is, I put here all white accountants, but another example I came up with is the mammal, maybe white men of a particular age group. Own it. Trying to be something you're not just makes it worse for everybody. So if you're a bike riding community or an accountants community and there's just no representation of anything, then that's fine. But don't try to be, don't show like stock pictures if that's not of like a representation of your community. Don't band-aid inclusivity, slapping on diversity initiatives just to look inclusive when it doesn't fit your reality, does more harm than good. Authenticity matters more than optics. Forcing inclusivity without understanding or intention can make members feel patronized or excluded in new ways. And start where you are and grow intentionally. It's better to acknowledge your current makeup and make small, thoughtful steps towards inclusivity rather than to pretend. So I want to set a goal for everyone today saying, build a community that grows inclusively over time, not one that is performative or misleading. So I hope that resonates with people as we move on to how we can implement some practical steps for creating safe spaces. Cool. So I'm going to start with 4 pillars. So ask, listen, learn, and educate. I think it's really important that we listen. Feedback forms, asking your community regularly, and actively engaging in listening when people are commenting and engaging themselves in the community. Ask, uncover the needs through feedback, but also ask, if you're hosting an event and it's an online event and people don't like talking or showing up, ask if they have specific accessibility needs. That one question is really valuable in any community or event space, and people will know what you mean when you ask do they have any accessibility needs, and will provide them to you if they feel like they need them. Learn. So you always have to be open to learning in this space. It's always changing. Ways of communicating certain backgrounds are changing. What people might prefer in your community might be different to what people prefer in other communities. So you have to be open to that. And educate. So nurture your community and the environment that you're in. And as a community manager or a leader, it's important to be up to speed with how your community can advocate and share resources to not just advocate your community, but so that your community can advocate and share those resources with others. So let's get into some practical tips and things that I've heard of before. And if you've heard or seen any of these, I'd love to see more examples. So a couple of things that we kind of need to re-examine, and beliefs that people think they have about their communities is like everybody already knows how to behave when they jump in. But my question to you would be, do you have a clear set of community guidelines? We care about inclusion. Have you written a diversity and inclusion policy? Everyone is welcome here. Are there safe spaces to make that possible? We post diverse content, but do you celebrate real voices, not just visuals? And then we record our events. Do you add captions, transcripts, and have flexible access? Pronouns are optional. Normalize them by modeling it and creating space for them. We share great resources, offer them in multiple accessible formats. We don't need labels. Umbrella terms erase lived experiences. And then my last one is, we're doing enough. You're not. Inclusion is never finished. It's practiced daily. So I'd love to hear if anyone else has experienced anything similar to this or heard other similar comments that you think, oh, we really need to reassess that.
And guys, this could be something, we ourselves have said that we need to re-examine, but it could also be something we've experienced maybe as a member of a community when we've been asking that of others. So just, I think, shedding a light on circumstances like this could be helpful in a variety of contexts. We did have, this was a comment from before, but it may relate to this as well. Elizabeth in the chat mentioned, Elizabeth's community is for parents of neurodivergent kids, teens, etc. Obviously, they're managing a lot themselves and for their families, and it's hard for them to even show up. So that's something she would like, or Elizabeth would like to hear more about. So what can we say when it comes to doing enough or doing more to make it accessible, easier to show up when we have challenges like that?
I would say, I wrote a piece on this the other day about like how we observe our communities, and you think that people need to be in them every day. But my belief is that people will come to your community when they need to learn something new or are going through a transition. So I think be mindful of that when you're like reaching out to your community members or wanting them to come into your space. You can also put things like in your guidelines about how to show up in the community, and that showing you don't need to show up every day. I think it's like an olive branch kind of situation. Like put it out there, making sure your content in the community is being shared also through email. So then people can read it at that particular time and be like, oh, okay, this isn't relevant to me right now, but maybe in 3 or 4 weeks I might remember this. And actually, oh, I know that that's in the community, so I'll go back and I'll jump back in there. Does that work?
And, we had a great question here about accessibility, and I'll call it out from Kenny in the chat asking if our voice rooms on Heartbeat have captioning. We don't have live captioning. There are, for the recordings, many ways that you can add captioning after the fact. But that's an excellent piece of feedback and something that I'm gonna already take note of that. So I can bring that to the product team. I love the idea.
Great. If anyone else has anything to share, then please keep putting comments in the chat, because I'd love to hear more examples. But now we're going to jump into steps that you can take today. So these are the things you probably want to get your notepad out and start jotting down some notes, or get the transcript later. And I can also provide a guide if anyone wants to grab this off me and write it. We can share it. So establish clear community guidelines. So it's not just your traditional Facebook group guidelines where it's like, no hate speech and this and that. You need to be like defined by your community and what it's about, and what does your community stand for. So define what respectful communication looks like and outline the behaviors that you won't tolerate, but also the behaviors that you want to see. So we want to make it positive here. And make it public and refer to it regularly, especially in your onboarding. I know Heartbeat does this really well because you have to tick, like do the codes of conduct before you join a community. I think that's a great piece that you've added. Have a community diversity and inclusion policy. So publish a statement that outlines your community or representation across race, gender, ability, age, socioeconomic backgrounds. That's also achievable and true to you and your community. Create safe spaces. So design opt-in spaces for specific groups. For example, I was running a community of women. It was about fertility treatment, and in one of the spaces was for the LGBT community, so that they had a space to connect and share their experiences on fertility, because their experiences are very different to the experience couple might have in terms of fertility treatments and conceiving a baby. So that's really important to have, so then they feel safe. Make sure those spaces are also moderated and the people in those are trained to kind of approach those spaces with care and passion and empathy. Also celebrate diversity. So we're recognizing cultural celebrations throughout the year, but do it with intention, and don't just highlight diverse voices like at those months. We're doing it all of the time, not just on those awareness days. Audit your content and imagery. So review your website, social media, and marketing materials to ensure imagery reflects the true diversity of community. Remove those stock images, and if brand photography does cost, but I think it's such an important investment. If you have hosting in real life events, make sure you have a photographer, and people can really see the true image of what your community is. And then if you can see a problem with who you're seeing in your community, then this poses a question on what you can do about Provide accessible accommodations in multiple content forms. So I'm going to start with the accessible accommodations. So things like having that accessibility question when you're hosting events. When you are hosting events or online, can you include captions? Can you include someone who can provide ASL? Is the presentation or the call or the event that you're giving, is it sensory friendly? If you're hosting an in real life event, are there spaces for people to break out into that they can just go and decompress and regulate their nervous system if they need to? Making sure that we're covering all aspects so people can participate regardless of where they are, what their abilities are, and their learning styles and access needs. Highlight and normalize the use of pronouns. You can add this in your registration when people sign up as a member of your community. Make sure your team is using it in their profiles, email signatures, and on their online displays, like I have here as my name title. Use accurate and respectful descriptions of diverse identities. Use person first or identity first language. You update terminology regularly. This does change in terms of how people would like to be represented or how they would like to be called. We have a way of talking about underrepresented rather than minority. So just thinking about how words can impact people. And if you need, you can maintain a living language guide, and you can update this as like a Notion template. So your moderators and people who are coming in as admins can always access it and see like how we're referring to who and when. And then if in doubt, always ask. That's really important. I think if you're asking these questions and giving people the space to give you like a response, then that's your open door policy and you're being there for your community. My next page is a few visual examples so you can see what I mean when creating safe spaces, when you're creating your guidelines, adding questions to your event descriptions and signups. There's a thing in the UK called the Hidden Disability Sunflower, which I have added in my LinkedIn. And in my communities, I get people to like if they want to identify themselves. So, they might not be able to show up all the time. And this is potentially why, because, they've got a chronic illness or something is going on. So it's just, if you want to be visible and vocal about it, you can. If you want to be private and as a community manager, you want to create that safe space for people to come to you, then you know how to be able to make those accommodations. And now it's time for questions or scenarios that you would like me to work through.
Very timely. We did get a question in here from Lorena, and apologies if I did not pronounce that correctly, but Lorena asks, any thoughts on balancing affinity group cohesion, messaging, such as offer description, and setting boundaries in an honoring way? Specifically, Lorena's thinking about a women's group focused on discussing sexual issues and trans women. It feels like creating differentiated spaces are important, and I don't have enough familiarity to hold space for trans women's experiences, let alone in a mixed group. What do we have thoughts for that?
I think we'll go back to the start small and start with what you know. Like, I'm not an expert on all accessibility and inclusion needs, but I have started and I've researched and I've listened to people and I'm gathering that information. So if you don't know, I think the best thing is to not include it right away. Once you start your community and it's that diversity inclusion statement, and make that your thing, and people will come to you. If you're not sure, go out to the communities and go, hey, I would really like to make this space as accessible as possible for everybody and all these types of people. How can I do that? What do you need? And I think the biggest thing is your market research and asking those questions, because that's the only way that you're going to find out how to make those accommodations.
Wonderful. Let me see if we have any follow-up. And by the way, if you guys have any follow-up questions after the answer, we can always add additional context if that is helpful too. We did have a request to just go back to the previous slide, so if we could grab a screenshot of it. We will have this recorded out on our YouTube channel, guys, by all means. You can go back and grab a screenshot of every slide then. But here you are. In fact, I may try to make this full screen for us. There you go. You can grab a quick little screenshot. I'll leave this there for a bit. Let's see, any other questions here? Thanks so much. You are very welcome, Mariana. Let's come back together here. Okay, all of us are back on screen. I think we're caught up there for questions at the moment.
Okay,
Excellent. Let's carry on.
I'm going to stop sharing my screen because that is the end of my presentation.
Wonderful. All right, so we're back together now. So folks in the chat who are joining us here, like this is one of the things, and again, I speak to it from the perspective of somebody who was myself a customer of Heartbeat for a long, long time before I did any work with the team and joined the team here. You feel that kind of weight of responsibility when you're bringing people together into a space that you curate, that you want to make sure that while there is a common thread that draws people to a community, whether it's learning to play the drums or confronting very heavy issues, not that learning to play the drums isn't a fraught thing, but I think there are definitely intensity levels of things that different communities contend with, from special interest groups all the way to some very active support groups. And the burden of the community builder is to create a space that is welcoming and including. And so, yes, I think if you've encountered challenges or even, I don't want to say missteps, but just areas where the intention didn't align with the execution, we can always talk through those examples as well. I'm very personally grateful I have not encountered one of those yet, although I am certain that, as my community continues to grow, it is only a matter of time before we have, like you said, it's constant effort. There's no done with the process of including people. So I am sure that I will continue uncovering new areas that I need to continue improving. Wonderful. Let's see. So if we don't have any additional questions there, were there, Serena, you said you had potentially some resources or guides you wanted to share with the group. Do you want to walk us through a couple of what those might be?
I don't have them available now, but if anyone wanted them,
Okay.
I can turn the presentation into a guide, basically.
Wonderful. All right, guys. So there's an opportunity for additional resources. We can, what we'll do is this then. Why don't we create that resource? We'll put that with the replay email that will go out to anybody who RSVP'd through the Hearth, and we'll also attach that to the recording that we put in the Hearth and put it in the notes under the YouTube video. This way you guys are not going to lose access to that. Okay. Yeah. And and I see, Elizabeth, I see that you put your email in there as well. Wonderful. So, Serena, if you wanted to grab that, you could. So Kenny asked or made a comment here. I'll put this up on screen so we can see it in the chat here. So because of this tutorial, I looked up, there are AI systems that can create a lifelike avatar to translate a live video or audio into sign language for the hearing impaired. And there are. What a wonderful use of AI generative content to create additional inclusion through that. Fantastic. Ken, if you got a link for that, put that in the chat. I want to know about that tool because that's pretty awesome. Yes, that is very, very cool because I think that is extremely important. And just as a random personal thing, like back when I was in college, I studied in Rochester, New York, and at RIT, there is also the National Technical Institute for the Deaf. And so about 15% of the student body was deaf or hard of hearing. And so there was a lot of sign language interpreters, everything was captioned, and that was abnormal at that time. It was not very common to have that amount of inclusion. And then to have it steeped across an entire campus was shows that it can be done. And then now we have this wonderful AI tool to be able to do that. So you just Google it. Is there an AI to create? Okay, I'll do the Googling, Kenny. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Fantastic. We also have. Sorry, after you.
Yeah, no, that's still obviously also like potentially, and it definitely is the next step, is like exploring how AI can make communities a lot better and benefit, make this process easier for everybody with transcripts and things like that. Because
wonderful.
Yeah, there is a lot of work that can be involved when you have to turn things into audio or written or you know what I mean. But like AI is definitely a big tool that we can be using.
Wonderful. And we do have some requests for folks who might want to get in touch with you. What are the best ways to learn more about what you're doing and get in touch with you, Serena?
Perfect. Yeah. So my website is www.senseandforum.com. You can catch me on LinkedIn. It's my name, Serena Gasparini. I'll get them to spell that in the notes below. And yeah, that's me. I'm not very active on Instagram, but I do love LinkedIn. So please say hi to me there.
I am putting all the links that I have for you in the chat right now. We have an email. We have the oh, I put the email in there. Sorry, I grabbed that twice. My mistake, guys. We have the LinkedIn. We have the email. And we have the website all in the chat for you guys to grab there. I would also like to, I don't want to steal any additional space that you might need. Is there anything extra you wanted to add, or should I add the little thank you note that I have that I wanted to share with the group at the end as well?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So what I'll do, guys, is I'm going to grab the screen share here. If you are building a community, let's say you've thought about building a community or you've started building an audience, and maybe now that you've learned what we've talked about today about inclusion, you're feeling more comfortable about getting started. I wanted to let you guys know that we are offering a special thank you for those who have showed up to this event. If you are starting a brand new Heartbeat community, you can get 50% off your first 3 months. That could be the growth or starter tier. So if you're a fan of like custom domains, if you're a fan of like ad conversion tracking, jump right in on the growth tier and get the max of that discount. But you can start a free trial as long as that trial starts before midnight Eastern time on Friday. Whenever you finish that free trial, if you do upgrade before the end of it, you will get the discount if you sign up through heartbeat.chat/Serena. That URL will attach this promo to you so you can take your time with a 2-week free trial. And then at the end, if you choose to upgrade and take advantage of that, and that'll let you build the discussion spaces, the courses, documents, events, and do it in a way that is inclusive and to be able to put to practice a lot of the things that we have learned today. So check out, it's heartbeat.chat/Serena, which is our thank you for showing up to learn and better ourselves collectively here. And Kayla, I see your question there. If you're in the middle of a free trial or if you're really, really close to that deadline, reach out to our support team. During the free trial, we usually can do something if you're already still in the trial. And then we can help you out there. But reach out to support@heartbeat.chat if you have a question on that one. The link doesn't work if you already have a community spun up. It only works for new additional communities, this particular link I have on screen. Awesome. So we'll close this out here. We did cover all of the questions. I do want to give you guys a little bit of a preview of what's coming up next as well. So we are here today at Creating Safe and Inclusive Spaces. Tomorrow, if you can make it and want to have some back-to-back time with Heartbeat, we are doing our November Town Hall. This is where we co-create the future of Heartbeat by talking about what we've built in the last 30 days, what we're going to be building in the next 30 days, and giving you the chance to advocate for the things that you want us to change about what comes up in the next 30 days, including if it's live captioning in our voice calls, Kenny. I've got that noted down. I think that's a really cool feature that you've requested. We also have an additional tutorial coming up on November 19th about how to get hundreds of new members at a time with a virtual summit. So if getting hundreds of new members through a virtual summit style event sounds good to you, honestly, getting a couple hundred members sounds pretty good to me, join us for that one. These are events that you can RSVP through our community, The Hearth, which is a free to join community for community builders or prospective community builders. Really great peer community. There's about 4,700 members in there, I think, last I checked. Plenty of folks of all walks of life and backgrounds that you can get support and ideas and questions answered from, and also submit any support requests that you need through the tech support channel. So I will stop the screen share here. I'm going to double check the chat because I've been multitasking. I had to do a screen share and I looked away from the chat. I'm double check if we have any remaining questions. Folks who are still here with us live, did you have any additional questions that you wanted to ask us? This is the time. Before we sign off, if you guys who are still here with us, drop a thought in the chat about one thing that you learned. What is one of the main takeaways that you gained from this session? Put it in the chat. Let's share this through so Serena can get all of the wonderful feedback before we end the session today. What was something that you learned that you didn't know or that you didn't maybe appreciate as profoundly as you do now that you've learned here? Let's see here. I know, speaking for myself, I think it's wonderful to like reaffirm that this is an ongoing process, that they're not to say that you'd think it'd be done to move on from it, but that it's okay to continuously work, and it's okay to continuously want to improve, and to kind of embrace that as part of the operations of running a community, that we continuously work to include that. But if you guys had any learnings, you feel free to send that through in the chat. I know sometimes there's a delay. I ask, and there's like a 20-second delay. Put some comments in there. And yes, there is a worthwhile note here. We do have some fun Black Friday promotions coming, so you can stay tuned for that as well if you are not able to take advantage of, because you've already got a community running. So keep an eye out for that. Awesome. No, I think honestly, Serena, if you can leave us with a parting thought, if you were to make sure everybody here had something critical to make sure they take away, I shared with my takeaway was, but maybe there's some, you could replace it. You can give me something new and even more dear to hold on to. What was the one thing you would want to make sure everybody leaves as a final thought here?
I think start with your onboarding process to build that inclusivity. Start with your community guidelines and making sure people are seeing them straight away. And like I said, build over time and implement the inclusivity over time. I think, there's no point throwing it all out there if you're not sure. Learn the process, ask the questions.
Wonderful. That's an excellent message. And in the chat, Kenny did share that Kenny thinks they'll make a Loom video to explain community guidelines because Kenny's afraid people wouldn't read it all if it was written out. What's your thought on media type for delivering the guidelines? Do you advocate for mixed media, so there are multiple different types of way people can engage with it?
Definitely. I mean, one of my dreams is to create a blog, give people the audio version and also a video version. I'm a business of one, so I don't have the capacity to do that. Maybe AI, maybe someone can Google whether AI can do that for me, which would be great. But yeah, I think mixed media is a great way to go. I'm not sure what the answer is and where to start, but you could, I think video and the captions along the bottom would be the perfect place, because then you've also got visual and written if people have the time. But some people like skim reading, so yeah, but I think you can keep your community guidelines in your onboarding process and have it as like a course, and people have to kind of spend the time being in there just for a moment before they can move on to the next step.
Okay, that's great. And to your comment about like mixed media types, this comes up in marketing too, because people just learn and retain information differently, and that's separate from the inclusivity and access question. And really solving for inclusion also helps with the solving for learning and retention information for everybody. So, Kenny, to your question, what I would do is take a video first process from a content production standpoint, because you can take a video. The video, most recording tools have transcription that happens automatically. AI can turn the transcription into a skimmable format, and then you can extract the audio by itself if you wanted to have a listen only. So if you start with the richest, I hate the word richest, but richest media, you can then separate the components and the ingredients of that and then break that apart, so you can have video with transcripts, or just the transcript synopsized into a skimmable format. Peek behind the curtain, guys who watch my newsletter. My email newsletter is text with a video, and you can listen to the video and it's got captions, or you can read the email. I do the video first, add the captions to the video, take the transcript of the video, and then have AI help me write the email so it's skimmable. So I follow that exact process to make multimedia format digestible in the way that we communicate with our audience. Fantastic. I'm really glad. So your podcast host does that, Kenny. Very cool. And AI can translate. Yes, indeed. You can also localize languages. Especially if you have an international community, that can be very impactful.
And I also think the video is really cool in like people actually getting the feel of you and building trust with you, because they're not just getting words, they're getting your vibe. Like,
you can emote. There's like body language, right? There's a greater level of sincerity. I'm sorry, Kenny, I gotta put this. They don't translate to Texan yet. That's a future product. Do you think you should make that? There should be a button somewhere that somebody can go upload and make it Texan. Would be an excellent app for somebody to make, because it is underserved as a dialect. Okay, fantastic. Or translate into and out of Texan. That would also be very helpful. Wonderful. All right, guys. I think maybe we park it there. Any other thoughts you want to add, Serena, before we end today?
I did remember that I mentioned Delia earlier, the community that I've just launched. So if it's okay, I'd love to pop the link for people wanting to join that in the chat. So I'm going to do that.
Please do. Okay, and tell us a little bit about that.
So I built Delia as a space for people who are businesses of one, and not like the big tech startup or femtech startup that don't have the budget. So it's a space where women and female positive founders can come in and get these tips, talk to each other, troubleshoot, bring these questions that people have brought today into the community, and we can work them out together and continually learn from each other. Because yeah, like I said, I've had communities with the fertility challenges. I've had communities with, having to safeguard young girls going through their college scholarships in sports, like how do we keep them safe? So, these are sit on forums or in out in public, and having these conversations in a safer space, which the community has built also on Heartbeat.
I do appreciate that it's built on Heartbeat.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I really enjoyed the process in building the community and the spaces that it's been able to give me and the community to have these conversations.
Wonderful. All right, guys. So if you are interested in spending more time learning deeper on this topic, that is one of the best ways to do it. You can go to the link in the chat, senseandforum.com/join to join Serena's community. So Serena, I want to say thank you again from Heartbeat, from the community of community builders that we have here, aspiring or longstanding. Thank you for teaching us and helping us think more deliberately about what we can do to create inclusive spaces in our communities. And to everybody who's tuning in on the chat, whether you're on YouTube or on LinkedIn, we will have the recording out on YouTube right away. You can go back and rewatch there, grab screenshots of any other slides we may have missed that you really want to get deeper into. And of course, you can join the Sense and Forum community and get information there. Or follow Serena on LinkedIn or go to her website and read more about it there. So everybody who's tuned in live, thank you so much for joining us here. Serena, you and I will hang out for a sec. We'll go into the green room after we are done from live. But to everybody else who's tuned in, thank you so much for being here and for learning and bettering yourself and your communities. Thank you guys so much. We'll sign off there for today, but have a great day. We'll see you later.